Hello everybody, my name is Luke Mar and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we're getting into your Met Gala 2024 Fashion Roast and Review Part 1. Yes, this is only Part 1. We have a lot of looks to discuss, so buckle up, buttercups. I'm gonna be honest, when the Met Gala livestream ended I thought, haha, this is a good one. It was a joke, no? No, it wasn't. Underwhelmed is maybe a little bit of an under-exaggeration. I thought that there was gonna be a delivering in terms of the Garden of Time, the idea of florals, the idea of time. But no, if you do not understand the theme, which is the Garden of Time, and you're confused as why everybody's been talking about Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion, you have to check out our video, which explains the full Met Gala theme and the exhibit of the Costume Institute. It's very important that you understand that in order to really get your pitchforks really sharpened. And a little bit of housekeeping. I know that you are currently writing horrible things to say about what I look like right now. Fair. But I want to let it be known, I am in fact wearing Balenciaga Haute Couture, not new Balenciaga Haute Couture, but Balenciaga Haute Couture by Cristobal Balenciaga himself. This was touched by the man, the myth, the legend. And you want to know how I know that? Look at this label. Look at the number inside the label. It's real Balenciaga Haute Couture. Do I look like Paul Revere? Absolutely. Are the sleeves on this way too short? Absolutely. And now that you know that I look not so great, let's get into the looks. First up, let's talk about Anna herself. Listen, Anna normally doesn't really get it. Now, Anna is wearing Loewe, who is the sponsor of this Met Gala alongside TikTok. I am also wearing Loewe, a new little loafer, very chic, very sweet. Now, this look is actually based on images that we saw really early on of the Met Gala, and the original piece is by Charles Frederick Worth. Charles Frederick Worth, if you don't know, is the father of haute couture. So this textile is actually called the Tulip Hollandaise, the original one, like hollandaise sauce, and it was at the point in 1889 the most expensive textile to produce because the tulip motif was actually 3 feet long, I believe, and there was something about like 31,000 jacquard loom somethings that it took to produce, so it was very expensive. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here. Dries Van Noten recreated it. It's a whole thing in the exhibit, and it seems like Loewe recreated it as well. Anna wore a sort of jacket over top of a dress, and that's her reference to the exhibit. I don't know, listen, I like it. I think it's interesting. I think it keeps in with the theme. I think that it most definitely is a good, solid reference, and it's not hideous to look at, which you can't always say about Anna's outfits. So I'm into it. I think it works. I think it makes sense. Listen, if you're getting into the Sleeping Beauties rather than the Garden of Time by, wearing a flower, I'll accept. Next up, we have Ariana Grande, and she is wearing Loewe as well. Now, this is a custom style, and this bodice is very hard. Ariana was kind of like knocking on it, and it's made out of mother of pearl. The thing is, Ariana said that Jonathan Anderson was like, I see you in mother of pearl. I don't know if that actually happened, but it's also Ariana's birthstone, and she said that it referenced the fact that Wicked is coming up, and Glinda, the Good Witch, has like her little bubble that's shiny and stuff. Her look was so similar to Taylor Russell's, because they both had these sort of draped little sashes at the waist, and then they both had floor-length, semi-white skirts, and it just felt like they were a little bit too similar, and it kind of threw me off, kind of fell away from being super interesting and exciting. I don't really know what the Garden of Time element is here. I also don't really see the whole idea of Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion here either. It just kind of fell very flat to me, unfortunately. Very sad, very upsetting. It's pretty to some people, sure, great, wonderful, happy for you, but I can't find any interesting aspect that ties into the theme. Next up, we have Bad Bunny, who is wearing Margiela. Now, I believe that this is a custom look, but it is based on the most recent artisanal collection by John Galliano for Margiela. It's the Spring 2024 collection, and we know that because there are a lot of these exposed seams, something that is very much so a part of the Margiela history, the brand. It's very much so a call back to past looks, considering that the whole idea of the Garden of Time and also the Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion exhibit is sort of calling back to past pieces and things, although things that are usually a lot more delicate that shouldn't be worn. I do, I guess, get and understand the reference, but also like a house code is a house code from a brand, so I'm not really trying to like give out crystal flowers here, there, and everywhere just because like you did a reference. That's kind of my big issue with the theme here, is like, okay, great, you did flowers. Okay, you did the house code. I need it to be a little bit more exciting. Go to everybody else if you want people that just are happy and clap. That's not me. That's not why you're here. That's not why you clicked on this video. Listen, the seam's great. The suit fits well. I love the hat. I like that Bad Bunny sort of dedicates himself usually to an experience. He goes for it. I love the headpiece to begin with. I like the glasses. I like the fact that he's wearing those furry tabby boots that look like horse hooves, and I'm pretty positive John Galliano was playing on the idea that everybody is like, you're wearing hooves. But the thing that I would say sort of ties into everything in terms of the Garden of Time is the flowers that Bad Bunny is holding. They are fabric flowers. It's a bouquet. People were saying that he was referencing the Count from J.G. Ballard's The Garden of Time story. And like, maybe he is. I don't really necessarily see this as like total late 19th century dress. He tried. I'm not super satisfied, but like there's a flower, so okay. Next up we have Ben Simmons, and he is wearing Thom Browne. Now I believe that this is a custom look, or it's like a mishmash of a few different Thom Browne pieces based on the most recent collection. And the thing that I really love about this look is we have time and we have a reference to a garden. Is it a little bit simple, a little bit in your face, because he's wearing this black blazer, black coat over top, a black pant in this sort of ripped up frayed tweed, sure. But there is a sort of green embroidered white rose that meanders up the coat, and then he is carrying a little Thom Browne briefcase that has a big clock on it. Garden, time, easy. Listen, Ben is a basketball player. I don't expect him to like turn out, whoa, crazy. But I do think that he's obviously lending himself to the theme, and I respect that, and I was very happy to see it. Next up we have Cardi B, and she is wearing Windowsen. This is a custom look, and it's this gigantic tulle dress that is way too big and really pisses me off. As I was watching the live stream of the carpet, Cardi was kind of like at the end, and she pulled up in this gigantic tulle skirt that is very large, but the issue is I was waiting for her to do something with it, and all she did was stand there. I kind of thought at a certain point like it was gonna do something, it was gonna, I don't know, deteriorate, it was gonna fly away. No, it's just like a gigantic tulle skirt that is way, 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 way more unutilitarian than I care for. Listen, like the era of the gigantic tulle skirt, it had its moment. It's a little passé right now, you know what I mean? Give it 5 years, we might have a different conversation, but like right now you pull up in this gigantic thing, you're like, oh, look at me. No, I in fact don't want to look at you because there's nothing really there. There's no garden, there's no time, except a waste of time. I literally sat there and said, oh, what is she gonna do? Nothing. She's gonna do nothing. She's gonna stand there. Waste of goddamn time. That's not the theme, but you're on it. Next up, we have Chloe Sevigny, and she is wearing Dilara Findikoglu and Anna Khouri. If you don't know, Anna Khouri is the jewelry brand, and that's the beautiful big old necklace that she has on her neck. But Chloe Sevigny understood the theme, I would say better than anybody else, at least in terms of the Sleeping Beauties element. Maybe not the Garden of Time per se, but Sleeping Beauties, understanding the exhibit, which is the important part. The dress code is kind of like, to me, it's not secondary, but if you are understanding what the exhibit is really about, like, you are more on theme than being actually on theme, because you care about fashion, you like fashion, you want to enjoy, and you want to express yourself. That's great. Now the thing is, when we're looking in the actual exhibit, because I was there this morning, it was really beautiful, it was really wonderful, I really enjoyed it. There were a bunch of dresses that obviously stood up and looked great and were from all different decades and periods and centuries, but there were a bunch of dresses that were laid flat. And that's because they are so fragile that they literally could not be stood up because it could destroy the dress further. When we look at the front of this beautiful Dilara Findikoglu dress, this looks like the way that a lot of the backs of these dresses would look if you were to open them up. They're tattered and they're torn, they're worn, they're sort of pulled, they're frayed, they're falling apart. They look like the actual 18th century dresses that are sitting in those boxes. It feels like it's a late 19th century aesthetic. We see a corset underneath. This idea of the back of the dress being the front and exposing the corset in this way also is really lovely. It's really sweet. As we move down, we can also see that there's all little embroideries of hair that look like little flowers and bows and things like that. That's great. Garden, I'm in it. Flower, made out of hair, sure, wonderful. You can find all the references to the fact that hair has been used so many times. I mean, Merkins. As we get into the high-low skirt, we can also see that the fraying and the petticoat and all that, like, she just gets it. She understands it, and I love her. I am a Chloe Sevigny stan. I'm obsessed. a fashion girl. We respect you, we honor you, we are grateful for you. And I know people are gonna be like,
it's a tattered and torn up dress. Like, that looks hideous.
That's fine, you don't have to get it, it's okay. But like, it's on theme. See this little hole in my Balenciaga haute couture? That's on theme, because there's a bunch of holes and tears and tears and all those things sitting on those dresses in the exhibit. So get over it. Next up we have Chris Hemsworth and we have Elsa Pataky. I know that Chris Hemsworth is a co-host, and I also knew that going into this that Chris Hemsworth was in fact going to definitely not deliver whatsoever. And he accomplished the goal. And to that I say, the only person that I should blame is me, because I had a higher expectation. Could look at Chris Hemsworth, three-piece suit in cream, and say, oh wow, Chris Hemsworth is wearing the color of what some fabrics will turn to when they're originally white as they decay over time. But I know that there is no way in God's green earth that Chris Hemsworth ever thought of that. And if he did, Chris, I apologize, but no offense, babe, you're not. As for Elsa, she's there, and that's lovely for her. I'm so happy. He's wearing a boot, so like, great. Is he a disappointment? 1,000,000%. Why did they pick him to be a co-host? I really don't understand. Maybe he's nice to look at in real life. Overall, gross, hate, no. It's just like a disappointment, like it's sad, depressing, and I'm just like, why won't you have a good time? Why won't you go for it? Why won't you experiment? So at least if you're gonna sign on to do it, like do a Bad Bunny and just do it. We're all gonna think, oh wow, Thor, at a later point. Like you can go back to being straight masculine man, just like for one night, be a little exciting. Maybe wear a floral. I don't know, babe, try. It's not that hard. Next up we have Cynthia Erivo, who is wearing Thom Browne. This is a custom look, and it's obviously a cropped suit, jacket, and shirt with a tie as well, and a high-waisted skirt that I believe flows into multiple sort of panels. It's covered in black sequins and also these little rose petals. Those are not real rose petals, although I thought they were, and I kind of wish that they were. I think that was a fun element of the exhibit, is this idea of things decaying over time. Like there's even a Loewe jacket that partially made out of grass, and like as the exhibit goes on, it will die. Did not see a singular designer that got into this idea of like the fabric or the material or the applique decaying in front of our eyes to really look at what we're supposed to be looking at in the exhibit. Kind of disappointed. I don't want to say it looks pretty. I don't really love the look in total. What I will say is the rose petals, obviously Garden of Time, yada yada. What is more interesting to me in terms of the exhibit is the fact that there are a bunch of different, funnily enough, bugs and insects all over this jacket. There's butterflies, it looks like moths, it looks like cockroaches, bees, spiders, all of these animals that not all eat fabrics and materials over time, but some of those actually do. Moths eat them, cockroaches, yada yada. There also was a whole section in the actual exhibit that did focus on insects and how insects have become a applique and embroidery, something to be a part of the fashion system and the way that we look at fashion. We could talk about the fact that in India specifically, there were embroideries that depicted insects, and then as colonization came around, there was this whole idea of taking that and then sort of bringing it to the West and making it an haute couture staple for a while. So this idea of insects being a part of the look and also a part of the exhibit do sort of play in. I'll also say like Thom Browne and Andrew Bolton, who's a curator of the Met, are partners, so like he has a little bit of a head start before everybody else, but it is technically on theme. Next up we have Da'Vine Joy Randolph, Oscar-winning actress, might I add. And she is wearing custom Gap. Now, I know that's really crazy, but if you did not know, Zac Posen, who we all know, who we all love, is actually the creative director now of Gap. I'm very happy that Zac has come back to the Met Gala. Years without Zac doing Met Gala, very sad and depressing to me. And he dressed Da'Vine. I love the dress. It was also really nice to like hear her talk about the dress and be like, I love this. Like, he understands it. Normally I have to like give notes to designers about what I think will work and what I think won't for my body. And she's like, no notes. I'm good. And I was like, icon. This full look, obviously full of beautiful seams. I love the neckline. I love the big sleeves. I also love this skirt. I know, or I believe that this skirt is actually detachable. The line work, obviously inspired by the late Charles James, who is the inspiration to Zac and was one of the great designers of the 20th century. But Charles James was also very much so inspired by the 19th century. So garden time part, we can 100% see. Referencing yada yada, check, okay, cool. What I will say I was a little disappointed in is that the denim used was using like Gap jean denim. I wish though that they had found vintage pairs of Gap jeans and Gap denim and had used that. I think that would have been cooler. I think it would have sort of brought in this idea of dead stock fabric. It would have brought in this idea of sustainability. It would have also very much so brought in this idea of like referencing archival materials, textiles, things like that. Even if the fabric wasn't sort of perfect, I just think there would have been some cool element to that. I think another element to the Garden of Time is just the silhouette in general. It's obviously supposed to reference the late 19th century, this idea of big sort of skirts. I want a little bit more. I'm very happy to see Zach back. I'm hoping that this is going to be meaning we'll see more of Zach and Gap on the red carpet at the Met Gala. I do love this on Da'Vine. I think it's probably one of the best dresses I've seen her in thus far. She looks stunning. I need a little bit more of a deeper understanding from Zach because normally Zach is one of the people that really gives you the theme. Next up we have Dan Levy, and I feel like Dan Levy really understood the idea of this theme, especially for menswear. Now he is wearing Loewe. This is a custom look. It's a double-breasted black suit, but right below the waist we start to see these really beautiful embroideries of florals. And considering he's wearing Loewe, it is a reference to the most recent women's wear collection, the Fall 2024 show. And I like this idea of the floral suiting for men being a thing, and it doesn't feel as we just embroidered stuff on a men's suit and called it a day. No, I love the fact that it's actually this idea of the flowers fading, moving away, and then at a certain point just fully disappearing. They're gone, they're done. Does that reference the J.G. Ballard idea of these exploding crystal and or beaded flowers that eventually run out, they're gone, they're no more? Possibly. Do I think that it's just a coolly designed style that definitely taps into gardens, flowers, all that sort of jazz? Yeah, 100%. I just think that Dan Levy and Jonathan Anderson of Loewe have a very good relationship. I think that they really understand each other, they trust each other, and I think that that works out really, really well here. Next up we have Doja Cat. Listen, here's my thing with Doja. I understand what she's doing. She is wearing Vetements, and it's this floor-length t-shirt dress that is also wet, or at least looks like it's wet. And now I know people are like, that's ridiculous, that's so crazy, like why would you do that? You're just naked, your butt's out, your boobs are out. But what I will say is, it's actually a pretty good reference. We can look and we can see that in the late 90s, John Galliano himself actually referenced and created these sort of empire waistline dresses that were doused in water. And that's because he was referencing the late 18th century, specifically the 1790s, after the end of the French monarchy, but before the reign of Napoleon, this thing that was happening with young women in this beautiful experience of fashion called the Marvelous, who allegedly, but nobody really can like confirm and or deny that it actually happened. They would wear these sheer white cotton dresses and then they would douse them in water and then they would go out on the town and like they wanted to like expose their bodies and have a nice time and show off, you know, this newfound freedom, obviously coming off of very sort of strict wear when it came to what you should wear in late 18th century France. People were very critical of it, which for the time, it makes a lot of sense why they were critical of it, you know, small-minded peeps that they were. Then this whole storyline came out that women were dying. They were getting pneumonia because they were covering themselves in water. They were going out on the town and then they were getting this pneumonia and then they were dead. And so they called it the muslin disease because they would douse themselves. But nobody can actually verify whether or not these women actually died. And so Doja's referencing that, but she's doing it in a t-shirt dress. She's also doing it with Vetements. And what I will say is there is a designer that's actually kind of perfected this whole style, and we've seen it a lot. Her name is Depetza. And I kind of wish that Doja had worn Depetza. The one thing that I'll say is Brett Allen Nelson, who is Doja's stylist, did come out and say that the reference is cotton, because cotton, if you don't know, is a plant. And so a flower, garden, things like that, you can grow cotton, cotton is the result of the flowering of the cotton plant. Makes sense. That's kind of what the reference is. I see it, it's a little bit obscure for me, but it does reference time, references, inspiration, different time periods. I guess technically it also does reference gardens, flowers, things like that. I'm undecided. I'm not really obsessed, but I wanted to explain. Next up we have Dua Lipa. She's wearing Marc Jacobs. There's nothing there for me. It's a black, multi-lace, multi-embroidered panel sarong skirt, a white corset, a matching black overlay, and then there's like a feathered cape and gloves. I don't get it. I don't really understand what it's trying to go for. It just feels unfortunately, like old Dua Lipa, which is go on girl, give us nothing. I wish that she had played into it. I wish that Marc had also played into it. I just find that Marc Jacobs is very much so a designer that really understands decades, references, past. I'm confused. Maybe it was Dua and she's just like, I don't want to do that. If that's the case, if you're like, oh, I don't want to do it, I don't really care about the theme or whatever, but like be like Houdini and disappear. Don't go. Don't show up. Don't do it. Like nobody wants you to show up and be blah and boring. We want you to do choreo, fashion choreo, deliver, give us something exciting, memorable, make me say, oh, Dua Lipa, what a star. I am currently not saying that, and that's very disappointing. No, I don't. Maybe it's made out of recycled fabric, you know, there could be a storyline to it. As of right now, from everything I've read about it, everything I've tried to find out, I can't find anything that says there's a storyline there. So if there is, but I don't think there is. Next up we have Emma Chamberlain. She is wearing Jean Paul Gaultier, and this is a custom look, but it's based on the spring 2003 Haute Couture collection, and it's actually based on this corset style that was covered in sort of brown lace. Emma looks good. She looks really pretty. It's a reference. It's a floral. It's a gown version, so like it's an updated experience. She does look really good. I do think that it's lovely on her. Am I obsessed? No. Am I like goop ding gag? No. Is it okay? Yeah, sure. Like, she looks nice. She looks pretty. She's one of the only influencers that did attend, and she didn't make us look bad. I'm grateful. I'm happy. I will take it. We will live to see another Met Gala. Hopefully. But also what I'm going to say about this is like, I wanted more. I wanted excitement. I wanted drama. I also feel like Gaultier is a brand that very much so could do like pizzazz. And I don't know. It didn't really feel like we got that. Next up we have Gigi Hadid. She's wearing Thom Browne. This is a custom look and it is a floor-length gown, a mermaid skirt. It's an off-the-shoulder strap, a fitted bodice in white, and then there's a sort of yellow rose embroidery decal and little leaves that fall out of it. Coming off of the hips of the dress, there is a coat or what looks to be like a coat, and it's falling off of the dress and then becomes this mermaid skirt, this very expansive big mermaid skirt. And the thing is, like, I like the concept. Like, anywhere else, I'd be like, wow. Right now, I would have loved more dégradé, would have loved more rips and tears and holes and punches and like, I wanted more from Thom, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I missed out, I feel like, on a lot of, like, good moments. I don't know. And I know it's like, well, what did you want? And I'm like, well, I'm not a stylist, you know what I mean? I could go through and I could find some old Thom looks that I'm sure look at deterioration, look at the way that garments can move and groove over time, and also just like Thom Browne could make some crazy things out of branches and flowers. And this feels, sure, doing the tailoring and all that jazz. I feel like the floral element is like an afterthought and the time element feels almost non-existent. Disappointed. Next up we have Jennie Kim. I'm so sorry, but babe, BFFR. Let's be real. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know why we chose this. And like, I love Aliyah. I like Jennie Kim, but this shit sucks. Listen, it is bad. We can't even like try to be like, oh, maybe it's right. No, laziness. Any other place, she looks beautiful, wonderful, great. Here, right now in this moment, disappointing, disinteresting, shouldn't be invited again. Has she yet to deliver a look at the Met Gala? Absolutely not. It's a flop, and I'm bored, and I'm uninterested. I would like to go. I want her to turn it out and give it to me, and yet, Jennifer, I feel not given to, and that's upsetting. All of the fans are going to come in my comments and they're going to be like, you can't dislike Jennie. I'm so sorry. But now you're making them state lies. This is not part of the theme. I liked a reference. He loved a reference, and I feel like there was a lot of stuff that could have been referenced in the Aliyah House codes and repertoire, and we did that. Lazy. Speaking of lazy, Jennifer Lopez, Schiaparelli. Listen, Jennifer Lopez again. She looks hot. Like, I can't be like, oh, they don't look hot. Like, they look great. She looks beautiful, but it's a sheer gown. Oh my God, wow, how revolutionary. It's like Jennifer Lopez invented the steamboat. No, it's not. You've seen this a million times from her. She's done it. Jennifer Lopez being sexy is radical? Please. The most radical thing Jennifer Lopez has done recently is talking about ham and cheese on a roll and an orange drink, okay? It's the most I've been interested in the past 10 years. It's a pretty dress, looks really nice. Anywhere else, be very happy with it. But like, what does it have to do with anything? Somebody was like, this is an exploding crystal. Maybe the cognitive dissonance is doing something. You're trying there, and I respect that, and I like to do that too, but I don't see it. Maybe I could see it, but like, I don't want to see it. It's a silver crystal, and I'm gonna be like, wow, crystal flowers, J.D. Ballard, the Garden of Time. No. No, sorry, no. And also with Schiaparelli in particular, time, clock, like that's a home run, Daniel. That's you, mama. Like you should have delivered that. Like that's, like I would literally have to sit here if you put a clock on her, both of her titties and said, oh, let's call it a day. I literally have to sit there like Paula Abdul and go, good job, Daniel. You did it. You're amazing. No, let's be real with ourselves. And you're a co-host. Next up, we have Kendall Jenner, and I'm going to be completely honest. The dress itself, not on theme. No gardens, no times, none of that. What I will say about Kendall, and I'm very proud and I'm very happy, not only does she look really beautiful, I think the dress is actually quite stunning. I like the deep plunging neckline. I love the black embellishment, embroidery. I even like the V sheer paneling. Like, it works and it looks gorgeous on her. But on top of that, not only does she look good, this dress is a Givenchy style and it's from spring 1999 Haute Couture, which was designed by Alexander McQueen. Now, that Alexander McQueen collection didn't actually have a runway per se. It did have a presentation, but the clothing was all shown on mannequins. McQueen said that he wanted to focus on the clothing, or at least the audience to focus on the clothing. And so what he did is he put it on mannequins, which is something that Margiela did. And considering this whole idea that John Galliano was actually supposed to be the whole Met Gala theme and it was changed, maybe this plays into it. So what happened was there were these panels on the floor and they would rise and fall and they would change out underground the mannequins to these different looks. And so Kendall is wearing a look that after the show has never been worn by a human body. And I personally think that that plays into the Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion thing. Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion, the exhibit, was this idea that clothing maybe sometimes should not be worn. You know, I don't know. This Balenciaga blazer, should I wear it? Probably not, but like we are. And so I like this idea. I think it's smart. I think it's a good way to go about getting around the Garden of Time theme without having to actually not be somewhat on theme, or at least pay homage to the exhibit. I just think it's a smart way to do it. I thought it looked really good on her. I thought it made a lot of sense. It was chic, paid homage to the exhibit, which I think is a step higher than the actual dress code itself. So I'm gonna be honest, very happy with the Jenner. Next up we have Kim Kardashian. Now Kim is wearing a custom Maison Margiela look by John Galliano, and Kim is wearing this beautiful corset in silver. I think it's like a jacquard of some sort. And she's wearing this skirt that is actually a chainmail skirt made up of floral styles. And it's a reference to a Christian Dior Fall 1997 collection that was actually designed by John Galliano. That whole collection was partially based on the Belle Epoque, which is something that was referenced in the most recent Margiela collection, but also combined with the Matahari, which was a style of dance in India. Combine those things. Instead of doing what I assume is a Goipur floral lace, it's actually a chainmail style. And then the thing that everybody was really confused about, and everybody's like, why is she wearing that? Is this cardigan, this very pilled gray cardigan. I'll be honest, like, was Kim giving the Margiela pose? No, and I kind of wish she had, but I feel like she also maybe like didn't really understand the reference. But that pilling cardigan is actually central to Margiela. If we look at the fall 1997 collection, pilled cardigans came about, and this idea of clothing deterioration, the way that clothing aged, is something that is very much so central to Margiela and is very central to the Sleeping Beauties exhibit. Like, I think this is actually a very, very smart moment from Kim. I think she's done it well. I think the corset is crazy, which is also something she loves. I gotta hand it to Kim Kardashian. Am I like jazzed by the look overall? Yeah, sure, I guess. But I really do think that she kind of nailed this idea of the way clothing ages. And if you go to the exhibit and you really read everything, that's really what that exhibit is about. Yes, pretty clothes, yes, flowers, yes, bugs and sea and sky, but it's really about examining the way that clothing will age, and there's nothing you can do to stop certain things being damaged. I think that's what Kim is doing here, and I like it. I'm 2 for 2 on the Kardashian Jenners, so I'm really shocked. But we're not going 3 for 3 because next up is Kylie. She's wearing Oscar de la Renta, and the thing is, I love Oscar. And like, I want to like this dress, but I can't. Like, I physically, mentally, emotionally cannot, because what is there to like? Don't see where the theme is coming through. It's a creamy silk fitted gown. The other issue is like, the wrinkling in the front is really upsetting. Maybe it's just she was sitting at a certain point. Maybe it's just it was too tight. I don't know what it is, but it's not becoming. And I think it's really just the fabric, but again, like, it's an issue. And then on top of it, there's nothing to cover up the fact that it's a literal cream silk dress and like, that's it. Like, there's nothing there. And so I'm like, girls, why? Gross. You know that this is awful. I don't feel like I should have to exert that energy right now because I'm done. Get over yourself. Do what you're supposed to do, which is show up and be a spectacle. Next up is Lana Del Rey. Very happy, very enjoyable. Lana Del Rey has come back. She said, listen, I once delivered an iconic moment in 2018. Let me do it again. It's this beautiful branch beige dress, and then the branches from the dress sort of spiral up around her head and then sort of create this like canopy, and then they drape this sheer fabric over top, and it's created this whole sort of web netting experience. It's actually based on a very iconic Alexander McQueen look from fall 2006 called the Widows of Culloden. The McQueen team created this beautiful lace style. It's gorgeous, it's stunning, we love to see it. And what they did is they got these resin antlers that they put on the model's head. It was a headpiece, and then they took the lace that they had done, and Alexander McQueen said that it was about a $2,000 panel of lace, and then they rammed the resin antlers through them. A deer ramming itself through something really delicate and beautiful and wonderful. The designer of McQueen now, Sean McGurr, really had the piss taken out of him, which is fair, for his first collection, but this is giving me hope. Sean, if you're watching, proud of you, babe. This is good. I like the fact that instead of going for the lace and the antlers, Sean is making it a little bit of his own and also getting into the theme. I love these thorny brambles, this embroidery. Like, it feels harsh, it feels spiky, it feels dead, it macabre. Is kind of not only an Alexander McQueen quality. I'm very into native plants. This is my Roman Empire. And native plants here in the United States in the winter, they don't die, but they're very brown, they're very twiggy, they don't look super attractive, and so everybody's like, oh, that's so ugly, it's so gross, so whatever. But they're not. They're very important. When spring comes, they're very good for native pollinators. In your area, if you live wherever you live in the world, find where your native plants are, and you should plant them, because it's really good, and you'll have a lot of bees and insects, and everything will be wonderful, and life will be good. I bring this all up to say, this idea of seeing the beauty not in the flower gardens with the greenery and the bright colors and petals, but seeing the beauty in the twiggy, brown, thorniness is the Alexander McQueen-ism that we like to see, that I like to see. And I feel like this is Sean getting it. Because Sean has been, in the past, I want everything to be happy and nice, and I want to bake a cake full of rainbows and smiles. No. Well, you can do that sometimes, but like, no, you gotta get into the nitty gritty, the hard, the sad, the gross, the grotesque. Like, you have to pull out a little bit of human emotion here, and I'm excited. And this makes me excited for what could come to Alexander McQueen. So, Sean, if you're watching, I'm proud of you, babe. Let's keep this up. Also, Lana, yes. Thank you as well. We appreciate it. The crown, yours. Next up, we have Lizzo and Monsanto. I don't know. I really don't know. I hate it. I really, really hate it. And like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Lizzo normally like shows up and shows out. And like, she normally does a good fashion moment. And like, this is not that. I don't want to know what it's supposed to be, because she's also just kind of like, and I get that. Because like, if I walked into that experience wearing that, I'd also feel that way. I'd be disassociating. I wish it was extinct. So let's move on. Next up, we have this woman named Sabrina Harrison. I don't know who she is, and Sabrina, I apologize. But what I do know is that she's wearing this brand called Krishabana. She did it. She's done it, Your Honor. She's done it. I love this clock gold piece on the bodice. I think it's amazing. I think it's a Dolly reference. We love a Salvador Dali, not a Dolly Parton, but we love Dolly Parton as well. I would love a Salvador Dali Parton moment. But I love this idea of the preservation of memory, I believe, is the artwork, that it's like all the clocks sort of like melting, and it's this play into surrealism and surrealist art. And I just think this is like a way to do time. I'm shocked that this is the only clocky kind of look that we saw. And like, I wonder if everybody's like, clock is too on the nose, but like, it's not too on the nose for me now at this point. Do I love the clock face appliques all over? Maybe not, but like, I'll take it. I do think that the singular clock at the bodice would have been for the best, but hey, to each their own. I don't know what's going on with the bag, but I also like it. Sabrina, you're a star. Thank you. This is lovely. I'm very happy with it. Next up, we have Stray Kids. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not even going to go through each of these looks, because like, you all should be very upset with them, because like, what is that? Tommy Hilfiger needs to be stopped. A navy double-breasted blazer with gold buttons and a white shirt underneath? Disgusting. Who would ever think to wear such a thing? Couldn't be me. Could never be me. Again, I understand that I don't look great. So like, I am okay with saying they don't look great because it takes one to know one. I don't get it. And also there's no themage, so no thank you. Next up we have Sydney Sweeney. She's wearing custom Miu Miu, and I think the dress is like pretty, and anywhere else I can be like, oh, nice. The gloves are a lot, and I know this is not my place. I really tend to not talk about this, but like the hair is kind of crazy to me. It feels very James Bond Russian villainess, but I do love the dress. Like I think the dress is really pretty. How time and all that it is, I don't really know. It's very pretty Miu Miu, okay, but also like I want a little bit more because I know that Miu Miu is not super heady or not as heady as Prada is, but like I wanted a little bit more from it. Pretty dress, sure, flowers, okay, garden, da 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 da, but like the gloves we could lose. And also I just keep looking at her, I'm like waiting for her to speak with a Russian accent. So I don't know how you say no in Russian, but however you say it, subtitle. Next up we have Taylor Russell. Obviously Taylor is wearing this wooden bodice, or at least what looks like a wooden bodice. I'm not sure if it's leather, I'm not sure if it's wood. I don't know what anything is anymore because it could be cake at this point. I really don't understand. But this sleeveless wood facade or look-alike bodice thing, flowers that move across it, garden, okay, whatever. I don't really love the skirt. I wish that we had committed fully to like the wood thing. Like give her wood teeth at this point. Just like do wood. Go for it. I do almost like the idea of the wood on the bust area because I feel like this idea of wood warping over time could have been a really cool concept. I'm going to give Loewe and Taylor Russell the benefit of the doubt that they were looking at the concept of wood warping over time, but also like it could not have been, and I'm just helping out where I can help out. But yeah, I wish we had gone a little crazier with it. You know what I mean? Like I would like a tin jacket moment again from Taylor Russell in this moment. I think this was the time to do it for her. And again, listen, it's hard to carry everybody on your back. I get it. I understand completely. I know all about that. But in this moment, I kind of expected it. Speaking of carrying everybody on your back, Tyla Bellman was not expecting that whatsoever, but sat. I am here. I am playing in the sandbox. I am ready. Let's build a sandcastle. Let's do it. She is wearing custom Bellman. It is this dress that makes Tyla look like she is covered in sand. It's really interesting. It's really beautiful. And the thing is, as soon as I saw it, I thought, Sands of Time. That makes sense. And I didn't even look at the hourglass bag that she was carrying. I saw the dress and I saw the little piece of makeup that looks like sand on her shoulder and I said Sands of Time. And I think that was kind of what I was looking at when it came to the theme of the Garden of Time, is you don't have to just do florals, so pretty, so nice. Like you could look at time as a concept and sort of play on that as well. And it didn't feel like a lot of people did it. And I know everybody wants to be like, wow, everybody tried, everybody's great, participation trophy. This is not the place for that. I don't know what it really has to do with Reawakening Fashion. I think she did it really, really well. I also think for like a first-time Met Gala attendee, like being, in my personal opinion, in the top 2 best dressed, top 3 best dressed, that's really big. And I'm hoping that next year she's invited back and she can continue that trend, because also, again, I think fashion is really, really important. Like when you serve a look, you serve a look, and people sit up and they notice and they remember and they're like, oh, we want her at that, we want her at this, we want her at that, we want her at that. Tyla, if you're watching, very stunning, very smart. You've done an amazing job. Happy to see it. Make me sweat, make me hotter, make me lose my, I don't know what the rest of the words are, but you get it. All right, so we got to get into the last part of the night, Zendaya. Now, listen, Zendaya didn't show up in 1 look, but 2. She showed up early on the carpet, and then she closed out the carpet. Now, this first look is based on a Christian Dior look by John Galliano himself, who's also the creative director of Margiela now, from the spring 1999 Haute Couture show. And that is the surrealism show. Remember the time that like Celine Dion wore that backwards blazer style? This look is based on a look from the same show. And what we can see from that runway is there was a dress full of stripes and a sash, and very much so inspired by apparently the 1930s and things like that. But there were grapes and movements and a wine glass. But at the same time, I believe the same collection that John Galliano did for his spring 1999 John Galliano collection was also based on a little bit of Bacchus, and Bacchus, if you don't know, was the god of wine. I feel like there was a little bit of play through between both of those collections, although obviously the look is inspired by this whole little moment. What I'm gonna say is I think the color scheme is a little tough. It's the blue and the green, in my opinion, that I just don't think really works well together. I also think it's a little bit tough with like the horsehair being blue and then green, and like the shades I also feel like are not super complementary. So not only do they, in my opinion, not go well together, but I don't think that they do anything amazing. And like the big grapes or whatever, I don't know. Listen, is it a plant? Sure, absolutely. And so like, is it on theme? Yeah. I'm not saying that it's not. Out of everything I expected for Zendaya at the Met Gala, like this was not it. And also I was disappointed. I see a lot of hummingbirds. Native plants, really important. You see a lot of hummingbirds. But what I will say is, sure, I get it, but also, I don't know. I do love the headpiece and I love the going for it. Also in the exhibit, there are a lot of hats. There are like so many hats. There was like a tunnel of hats. There was hats galore. So like I do appreciate playing into the headpiece and all that. But again, I really think for me, it was the color. I don't really care too much or hate too much the grapes or whatever. I just think the colors didn't deliver. I think if there was a different color scheme in this dress, I would have felt very, very differently, but that really was my big issue. I don't like hate it, but was I wowed? No. And am I gonna get on here and say, oh my god, I thought it was the best thing ever? No, because I'm not a liar, and that's the one thing I will not do. If I don't like it, I don't like it, and I'll say I don't like it, and if everybody wants to skewer me and crucify me, guess what? I'm still gonna be here next year, okay? Beautiful little hummingbirds. Well, I don't know how they put them on Zendaya's neck in the dress or whatever, but those are really beautiful. Those I think are really, really lovely and sweet and gorgeous and stunning, and I do think that plays into garden themes and all that, you know. I appreciate what she did, I just wasn't too jazzed about it. But then at the end, Zendaya came back in a whole nother look. Now this is, I believe, a Givenchy gown. Now it's from 1996. This is from John Galliano's first season at Givenchy. And I believe that that collection is called The Princess and the Pea, and the models were like sitting up on mattresses like the fairy tale of the Princess and the Pea. And there was a lot of references to, you know, historical dress and all that. We can see that in this beautiful jacket with a little bit of a bell sleeve. We can say that it's probably like mid 1800s kind of inspired. I'm gonna go with. And like, listen, I appreciate the dress and all that jazz. As for the headpiece, there's this gigantic bouquet style. It's from Alexander McQueen's Spring 2007 collection, and it's a hat by Philip Tracy. But I'm gonna be honest again, it's nice to look at, but like, was I wowed? No, I'm sorry. I really wasn't. Like, I wanted to be. If you did not think that Luke was not sitting around for the past however many months, twiddling his thumbs thinking, wow, Zendaya's really gonna eat the girls up this year. It's really gonna be major. I was. Listen, I was excited. Honestly, I thought they were gonna go and buy like a real robe a la Francaise from the late 1700s, because they're actually not that uncommon. You can buy them quite easily. I thought that they were gonna retrofit it to her body, and it was really gonna be this idea of like wearing something that you shouldn't wear, but it wasn't gonna be the Kim Kardashian, like Marilyn Monroe, actually super historic one singular piece, but rather this wearing of a piece from history. I thought that was like where it was going, and then it kind of turned into this, and I was like, oh, so like maybe, listen, it's my fault. I should be disappointed in myself, my expectations. That's my life lesson. But like, I'm not gonna lie and say, wow, I was so jazzed about the whole thing. I thought it was nice, but like, so that is the end of this video. So let's talk about best and worst. I'm gonna put best as, shockingly, Kendall Jenner. I thought that the theme and the concept was most definitely very smart. Chloe Sevigny, I really, really love, very obsessed with. Tyla, stunner, iconic, wonderful, gorgeous. Oh, and also I can't forget Lana Del Rey. That would be rude. I think that's it. There wasn't really that much to like love. As for worst, I'm gonna put Cardi B just because like I have blue balls, fashion blue balls. It was very upsetting. Jennie Kim, why? Kylie, also why? Oh, Stray Kids, that was like worst times 7, 8. Dua Lipa, go on girl. Yeah, I think that's good. I think we're good. So please let me know what you guys thought of all the looks in the comments down below. Get ready, because there's going to be a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4. They're going to be coming this week. We're going to be on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and TTYL.